Wow, what a show we've got for you today. Brain regeneration. Imagine that at my old age, you can regenerate this brain. The question is, what degenerated it, okay? Dr. Lee Cowden, a medical doctor, a cardiologist, is going to be here, and I'm going to be there. Orlando, Florida. What are you doing November 9th and 10th of this year? I'm going to be in Orlando with Dr. Cowden talking on brain regeneration. Let's talk cancer. Cancer screenings, PSA, mammograms, prostate exam. Where's your heart on that? At the bottom of the show, what causes cancer? Right smack in the middle, high fructose corn sweeteners with nurse Jenny Herbachik. All that and even more on this Know the Cause. My name is Doug Kaufman. For the past 40 years, I've dedicated my life and even my career to finding the root cause of disease. Join me in a team of physicians, pharmacists, and scientists, and soon you too will know the cause. I read an article not long ago, a couple of years ago, about someone who got a colonoscopy for checking for polyps and colon fissures and so forth, and ended up with a bad colon infection and almost died. And she contended that the colonoscopy, she was fine before the colonoscopy, could that metal tube be causing some germs to get into our colon that weren't there before? Very controversial, folks, and I want to talk to you for the next couple of minutes about cancer screenings. Don't ever let me make your decision for you. God gave us all good brains, and much of that it controls the consequences that happen when we make the wrong decision or the right decision. There are consequences to every one of our actions. I have decided against cancer screening. So I don't go to a urologist, I don't go to a proctologist, I don't go to a doctor. And some of you have also. I get to talk with you at all these events that I attend. But some have said, no, look, I want my annual colonoscopy, I want my pap smear, I want my PSA. Okay, here's my role today. Every doctor in America will tell you to get that done, okay? I just want to flip the coin and show you the other side, okay? Cancer screening examinations, the pap test. After 18 deaths, this was a headline just not long ago. Ireland changes cervical cancer screenings. These 18 women had all had a pap smear and they said, no, you don't have cancer, and they all went on to get cancer. No test is perfect. If I was a guy, I am, and I got a PSA test, here's what I'd do. I'd pay an extra $80 and say, draw 2 samples of blood, send one off to your lab, doctor, and I'm going to take one to another lab. And I want to see when the results get back. Gee, this one says 4.5 PSA, this one says 2.5. You got to watch out, folks. Always double check, get another opinion when someone says you have cancer, okay? Mammography. And here's what screening mammography, a long run for a short slide, New England Journal of Medicine said a few years ago. Although mammography screening is one of the screening programs most carefully studied, ... it continues to be one of the most debated issues within the medical community. I think it was the British Medical Journal recently, a few years ago, that said, look, with false positives and false negatives to be considered, mammography is about 58% reliable. 58, a coin flip, I think, is 50. So, do you have a mammography? Here's the one thing that we're selling mammography on. Well, genetics has a lot to do with breast cancer. Not true. According to Dr. Susan Love in the breast book she wrote many years ago, she said about 5 to 10% of breast cancer incidents are familial. So grandma had breast cancer, you will. I'm a 90 to 95% guy. I never liked when I got a 5 or a 10% on my tests, okay? What about we men? Digital rectal exam, every urologist in the world promotes that, and then a PSA test, okay. Cancer screening examinations. Prostate, the digital rectal exam is highly subjective and unreliable, says Urology Web. That kind of blew me away. It's a website for urologists. The PSA, it's subject to somebody's finger, saying, I know my doctor got an MD, but did his finger? So I feel a nodule on your prostate. Is that cancer? And then the prostate PSA. Rising PSA levels may or may not mean prostate cancer, says WebMD. I mean, WebMD is really the authority on this. And folks, we're all told, men are all told, oh, you got to have a PSA. It's that accurate. study how accurate or inaccurate the PSA test really is. The Great Prostate Hoax, written by the man who invented the PSA test, is available on Amazon or anywhere else. The Great Prostate Hoax by Dr. Richard Ablin. Finally this, don't take it from Doug Kaufman. I don't know if I've had a PSA. I haven't had a digital rectal exam. I've been well, I don't go to a doctor. Finally, look at this. What do authorities say about this? How about Otis Brawley, the chief medical officer of the Cancer Society? We don't want people to panic, he says, but I'm admitting that American medicine has overpromised when it comes to cancer screening. The advantages of screening have been exaggerated. Can I get a big wow from everyone? Can you believe this, folks? Yet your doctor says, I want you in here every 6 months or every year. I don't know your chart, I don't know your history, etc. All I'm saying is just make wise decisions. I think we are over-diagnosing breast, prostate, colorectal cancers like it's going out of style. If these are the tests we have to rely on your heart. Change your diet, take supplements, exercise on a regular basis, and see if you're that concerned about getting to a doctor for cancer screenings every year or two. My good buddy Lee Cowden. Dr. Lee Cowden is a cardiologist, many years here in Dallas. I met him when we got here to Dallas, maybe 30 years ago. My wife and I just love him. He had an idea 12, 15 years ago of educating practitioners out of the box. In other words, it's a good idea sometimes to write prescriptions. Surgery sometimes is needed. He's a cardiologist. Yeah. But for the most part, he was seeing patients too late. And he would educate them, gosh, I wish you'd have come to me a year ago, right, Dr. Cowden? And we would have done certain things. So first of all, as a cardiologist who now travels, lectures worldwide, that's a little bit different than that practice where you're seeing 60, 80 patients a day in Dallas.
Yeah, big difference between then and now. That practice almost killed me.
Yeah, I know, but you had these guardian angels.
Yeah.
And I want you to expound on that because, folks, we were just laughing as we entered this segment. There's going to be a big conference. We want you there. We want you to become a core wellness coach, work in a doctor's office, help the doctor with helping people. These guardian angels were early core wellness coaches, okay? Yeah. And this conference is coming up November 9th and 10th. That's a Friday and Saturday, and it's going to be in Orlando. I'm going to be there. Dr. Cowden's going to be there. A bunch of my friends, doctors, are going to be there. What will people who attend? There's a professional conference, and it's called Practitioners Brain Regeneration Conference. Boy, wouldn't you and I like to go to that? He's renamed it for the general public. Get your brain back now. That makes total sense to me. That's what you're going to hear, only from some of the finest doctors and brain doctors in America today. So take it away. Tell us what to expect there.
Yeah. Well, it's 2 full days of teachings from some of the brightest integrated practitioners on the planet, and you and I are going to speak there as well. So we're the fillers.
We're the fillers.
Yeah, and people will learn not just about how to get their brain back, but how to resolve chronic pain and how to overcome MS and ALS and Parkinson's, all kinds of other conditions. So, this is about brain health and about neurological health. And there's so many things that could be done that, for patients that have those conditions in the integrated medicine field. Most allopathic doctors say there's nothing that can be done about this, go home and suffer. But it's not so.
Yeah, and I try and teach my audience that certain mycotoxins are tremorogens. Others, like penicillin, are neurotoxic. So if that's what started it, you can understand where all these doctors are going with this. Using supplements, maybe medications to help reverse some of what's going on. Teach me a little bit about what I did, almost 50 years ago in doctors' offices after I got back from Vietnam. Yeah. I was a core wellness coach.
You were.
I went in and I returned the calls of the very sick. A doctor is watching this guy 15 years ago, you wouldn't have believed it. Maybe that was 20 years ago. You couldn't have believed it. That he was seeing that number of patients in this huge 9,000 square foot cardiology clinic. And every one of those people loved him, just like my wife. Everybody went in there and loved him because of guardian angels. So what is a core wellness coach?
A core wellness coach is a guardian angel for those clients that need that extra help, the hand-holding, I call it. And so, so many integrative doctors would love to be able to do that job, but they just don't have the time.
Yep.
So they need to find somebody that they trust to help hold that person's hand until they can get through the illness. And a core wellness coach, once they're trained, can do that. And so they start, as a core wellness coach, get a certification, work with a health practitioner. There's a bidirectional referral arrangement that occurs in that relationship, because the doctor needs the help of handholders, and the handholders sometimes need the help of somebody that knows more than they do, and so it works well. And there'll be a time when patients will, or clients will say to their friends and family, "Hey, I got benefit. You need help. So why don't you call the wellness coach?" The wellness coach then sees that person, and then the person that either gets better, or the wellness coach refers them on to the doctor. So
Yeah.
we can make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, a core wellness coach, you can become one. That's his point. Meet me there November 9th and 10th in Orlando, Florida. We'll be staying at the Florida Hotel and Conference. 30 restaurants in this mall, in this big hotel that's out there. I'll never forget Dr. Howard Gottschalk coming to me one day. He had his tax returns, must have been around April 15th. And he goes, "I'm paying you what? Look how much money you've made me." You can actually help a physician build a tremendous practice, but more importantly, help their patients stay in touch with that doctor and get well. Thank you, Dr. Cowden. Look
Thank
forward
you.
to being with you.
Yeah,
That's going to be fun.
Hi, I'm Jenny Herbacek with the Cancer Connection. In the mid-1970s, Japanese scientists discovered a cheap way to manufacture high fructose corn syrup from corn. Soda companies quickly began using it because it was much less expensive than sugar. And many experts say that the American obesity epidemic really took off when this happened. An FDA study found that high fructose corn syrup contains mercury. Nutritional scientist Dr. Bruce Ames also found that high fructose corn syrup can trigger body-wide inflammation and obesity. Both of these increase your risk for cancer. For Know the Cause, I'm Jenny Herbacek.
I own health insurance. I have a health insurance policy. Do I also have health assurance? Are these supplements I'm swallowing, are they really assuring me of a healthy, long life or good health as long as the good Lord leaves me here? Joining me today is a good friend and a confidant, somebody we can speak with here at Know the Cause all the time. His name is Dr. Mike Smith. He is a medical doctor. He's also director of education at a big company called Life Extension. We are honored with our affiliation with them. Dr. Smith, thank you for joining us.
Hey, Doug, how you doing?
I am doing great, thank you, and thank God for Skype.
It's awesome.
I bet you guys get asked this question all the time, and that is, are all supplements out there the same?
Yeah, great question, right? So the way to answer that is, on one level, you could say yes, because all supplements, when they are manufactured, have to follow good manufacturing practices, right? GMP. That has to happen. So manufacturers have to be certified. The government does their job in checking those manufacturing centers, and so on some level, if you look at manufacturing, yes, but that's kind of where the similarities stop. You really have to think about how a product is formulated to really answer this question. And the first thing that it starts with is what we call the raw material, and that's probably where the greatest differences are between something you could buy in some convenience store versus from a place like Life Extension. It's the raw materials, where you source the starting materials to get to your final product is the most critical step. I know at Life, I can speak for Life Extension, right, Doug? I know for a fact. When we find a raw supplier, say of vitamin C or vitamin D or whatever it is, right, and the supplier tells us that this is high quality, it's pure vitamin D, et cetera, we don't believe them. I mean, we like them, whatever, but we're going to do our own testing. So companies that really are doing a good job are taking those raw materials and they are confirming what that supplier is giving them into what's called a certificate of analysis. So we spend our own money. We hire third-party labs, so we don't have any control over this, who test that material to make sure it is pure, and that it's potent. And once you've done that, now you have the building blocks to make a high quality product. Now, at that point, we start we formulate, we get the right dosing going, we test that all along the way. Once we actually start manufacturing the product, we have checkpoints along that conveyor belt, basically, where we pull a random bottle off, and we look at the color, we look at the dose, we look at if are there any contaminants. And so we're testing all along the way until we get to that final first batch there, that final end point of making that product. We pull it off and we reconfirm everything we just tested. So we're spending, good companies spend a lot of money making sure what actually gets on the shelf is what's on the label. It's pure, it's potent, and it starts from that great raw material. Not all supplement companies do that. I can't speak for that for companies that you might see at a Costco or something. I don't know, but I know that there are a handful of companies that take the raw material to the final product very seriously. They spend a lot of money, and those are premier premium products, and those are the ones you want to stick with. So they're not all the same, no.
Well, you hear me talk all the time. I mean, I take life extension supplements, and I feel them. I mean, it's really fascinating with this company. We started a relationship with them, a good relationship, about 3-4 years ago. And Dr. Smith is the director of their education. So when he's talking like this, he's really telling you what they do out of the ordinary, what they do at each step of the way. And I like the conveyor belt idea, Dr. Smith. I like, as this product goes down, pull a bottle, make sure,
test it.
Make sure it's right.
And every time we do that, Doug, we produce a new certificate of analysis that anybody can ask for. We're totally transparent. That's actually a really good tip. If you want to know if that product you're about to buy off the shelf is good, turn it over. There's a manufacturing number on it. Call it and ask them to see the certificate of analysis, or go online to see if you can find that certificate. If it's hard to find or they don't want to give it to you, put that product back on the shelf and find another one. Pretty simple.
This is your go-to company, Life Extension it's called. If you want to learn more about their supplements, here's one of the things I love about this company that others don't do. Just pick up the phone. Call that toll-free number. It may not be Dr. Smith because he's got a lot of people work for him. But it won't be. But here's his cell number. No. Here is a doctor who cares, who trains his staff. Nutritional, educated people will speak to you and guide you. Maybe you have $10 to spend, maybe $100. Know that their supplements are going to get you there. They take steps for quality assurance. Dr. Smith, thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it.
You know, I have published quite a bit on cancer being a fungal disease, right? The etiology, the root cause, know the cause. The root cause, I think, is fungus very often. And I think we are hyper-diagnosing cancer. I think prostate cancer, breast cancer, other cancers have a fungal etiology, but the doctor never looks for that, folks. So what I want to go through with you right now, given that I'm not a doctor, is what do scientists say cause cancer? Here they are. There's a couple of things. Number one, and this one's been blown out of proportion, hereditary. Cancer that has developed as a result of genetic mutation passed down from a parent to a child. We now believe that cancers run the gambit, from 3 to 10% of all cancers are genetic cancers, right? Even breast cancer. And so we can no longer say, well, your mom had cancer, so you're going to have cancer, like was pretty commonly sold, in the 1970s and 80s. At least surveil, keep an eye on these things very carefully. What's the other 97% if it isn't genetic? Well, all cancers are thought to be caused by genetic mutations, according to Medical News many years ago. Some claim, however, that genetic fusion initiates cancer growth. Therein lies my fascination with it. Folks, humans and fungi, the cells that we have are eukaryotic, E-U-K, eukaryotic cells. Bacteria, prokaryotic. Eukaryotic cells means a cell membrane and a nucleus with DNA in it. You're kidding. So yeast and fungal cells and human cells have that. God forbid if the DNA from those two merge. What are we going to end up with? Want my answer? The short answer? I think it's cancer. I think when the DNA from humans merge with the DNA from yeast or fungal cells, These, we know that fungi grow in a sac, right? They're called either mycetomas or ascomycetes. So here's a cancer tumor, and here's an ascomycete, a lump. And the two share such common factors. Well, the cancer can grow anaerobically. You know, you feel the little lump, and then 2 months later it gets bigger without oxygen. Same with fungus. One liberates a poison called lactic acid. Same here. Folks, this one, the cancer tumor, starves in the absence of sugar. Same with fungi. I mean, it's amazing when you begin to see the parallels between fungus and cancer. I wish that doctors would begin to look for the cause instead of treating the lump over and over again. The biggest problem? We send a lump off to a pathology lab and say, test it for cancer. We've never said, look for fungus in it or fungal DNA. Maybe that's the wave of the future. I hope it is anyway, and I hope this helps. I want to talk about Dr. Lee Cowden a little bit. He's a cardiologist who now trains other doctors. He flies all over the world training other doctors. I introduced him to the fungus linked to cardiopulmonary problems many, many years ago, 30 years ago, and we've been friends since. He's an open-minded cardiologist. Now, many doctors are understanding fungus and mycotoxins. So many that this conference on November 9th and 10th, if you can be there, it would be great. I'll be there in Orlando, Florida. I'm flying over a few days in advance, doing a little television promo and so forth with Dr. Cowden. This is all about practitioners regenerating the brain. And you know, these aren't the doctors that prescribe a lot of medicines. These are a lot of doctors who say, you're digging your own grave with your fork and spoon. Stop it, and maybe you can get your brain back. And then new supplements they're talking about for brain regeneration. Okay, my talk is going to be on mycotoxin. Fungus makes a poison, certain of them, called mycotoxins. My talk is mycotoxin-induced brain hacking. What happens to our brain as we age? I'm aging, so far so good. Hey, thank you so much, Dr. Michael Smith from Life Extension, for continuing our education. All supplements, simply put, are not the same. Thank you, Dr. Cowden. Thank you for learning a little bit about cancer screening tests and maybe the etiology or what causes cancer. And most important, Jenny Herbacek, you're such an amazing nurse. Thank you for continuing our education, this time on high fructose corn sweeteners. Tuesday and Thursday, live Facebook from 3 to 4 p.m. Looking forward to sharing that with you when you log on. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.